What was that?
Get closer to the camera.
There.
Perfect.
Little bit closer.
I do not want
All right, I'm turning into a ghost.
Bye, Thompson.
Okay, we can just get it started.
Let's get it.
Okay. Yeah,
Just
we
for like
are
any of you
live.
guys who don't know who I am, I'm Miles. I'm one of the workshop directors. Just living my life, trying to bring the people what they want.
I'm Casey.
Yeah.
I'm the other workshop director.
I'm Noah. I'm a project manager.
And my name is Kara. I'm the executive director.
Do you guys want to introduce
Ooh.
yourselves too?
Sure. Do you guys want to introduce more about yourselves? Like, give us a little background, like where you're from.
Damn, the interviewers
Damn.
swapped. We're swapped. This is all about After Hours now, you guys. Welcome to the stream.
Yeah.
Totally.
Do I have to go first?
Yeah, Miles, it's all you.
Okay, Miles Gabeyev, you said that. From San Diego. An ad major and just a general friend of the brand. Just trying to-
I'm Noah. I'm a project manager. I'm from San Mateo. I forgot for a second. From San Mateo, California. I'm actually pretty unaware of the band. Like I know, like I've heard your guys' name around, but I don't really know much about it. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about it.
Yeah, like we said earlier, I'm from San Jose. I am one of the workshop directors. Probably gonna do some ad project management, but like to do some other stuff too. And I've been following guys because I know my girl Grace down there. She was working on her little designs that I love so much. So then I've just kind of been following you guys since, and I've really loved everything you guys put out.
Amazing. Okay, hello, I'm Kara again, and I've been executive directing for After Hours this year. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been so much fun. Yeah, project management. I'm from Seaside, Oregon. There's my little spiel. But I also want to preface, I know we have 4 viewers at the time. I'm in a live stream. Wow, that was cute. Okay. We have 4 viewers. So for the people who are viewing, this is going to be a little clunky. Just keep that in mind. This is the first time we're doing this. So yeah, but awesome. Do we want to switch it off to the late bloomer team?
Yeah. Did you say we have 4 viewers that we can't see, or just the 4 viewers that are on the screen?
Like on YouTube, there's 4 people viewing us that I saw.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll start.
Hi.
I'm Josh Murray.
Hi, Josh.
Yeah, hi.
So, dude.
I guess we can just go around and then start talking about like how we started late bloomers. So you want to talk?
I'm Grace Levy.
Hi, Grace.
Hello.
So, guys.
I'm Hunter Reed.
And I am Alex Vode.
Woo.
All right. So what brought you guys together?
So, well, first, so I transferred to the U of O 3 years ago. I went to a different school for 2 years, decided that wasn't for me, and then I came to U of O. And I didn't really know anyone here. And I actually grew up with Hunter's cousin. I'm actually from the Eugene area. So when I transferred here, I didn't really know anyone but Hunter, and didn't even know him that well. So I transferred in as like a health major, and then switched over to journalism after talking to a general advisor about kind of some ideas I had about like just wanting to like brand for companies. That was like the first thing I wanted to do was like work in like the music industry. And so he kind of pushed me. He's like, you should go do journalism. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense at all. Like, why would I go write for a newspaper? Like, that was like my first like initial thought. I was like, why would I go do journalism? And then I like eventually realized that like ad and like the ad school is like so much bigger than just copy. It's like so much like design based and just like art based and that kind of stuff. So I got into that. and kind of at the same time, me and Hunter and Malcolm Mackey, which he couldn't make the chat, but he's part of the group too. We were all kind of working on clothes, kind of around the same time that the Creative Strat project was coming about for me. So for those of you that are familiar with the Creative Strat project and that at school, usually for most people, it's revolving around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And ours was focused on responsible production and consumption in the clothing industry. And so from there, what we kind of had the idea was to take it from the consumer side and kind of how we can impact the industry in a more positive way. So like reusing and like how much waste really goes into the clothing industry. And our physical example at the time that me and Hunter started to realize how to screen print at home kind of came together. So what our physical example for that project was screen printing on used t-shirts, the statistics that we were highlighting in our project itself. And so we screen printed those on t-shirts as like ways to show the like eye open a little bit about the facts. Because one of the facts was, and this is still true, 70 pounds on average. So in the US, each person on average wastes or throws away 70 pounds of clothes a year, which most often ends up in landfill. So that was like one of the examples that went on the t-shirt. And kind of around the same time, so we ended up, one of our team members, Laurel Martin, she just graduated last year, but she got to go present at the United Nations in New York on that project. And then I didn't get to go to New York that year, and I won't get to go now, which kind of sucks. But me and Hunter kind of realized that like maybe this could be more than just a project, and we could kind of combine it with our love for clothing and also like this like fashion sense and how we can make it sustainable. So that's kind of how Late Bloomer started. I don't know if Hunter, if you want to talk at all about like your background in clothing, like coming up to that point.
Yeah, I mean, well, so was the question about like how Late Bloomer started, or how we all like came together, or just kind of both?
Came together.
Both.
Yeah, so I mean that's like basically how it that's basically like how it started, just from Josh's Creative Strat project, and we kind of developed it from there. And then we met Alex through just like mutual friends and stuff, and he's just kind of been with us since like the very important, you know, parts of the project, just doing photography for us. And then actually one time after hours, Grace came up to me and said that she was interested in doing clothing design, and that she had like heard of us before. And so just kind of from there, it was like super natural, and she hopped on. So it's kind of been the four of us plus Mackie since then. But yeah.
And so like at the very beginning, we started off with, we didn't really know what it was going to be. And we had some like milestones that really kind of pushed us forward. But at the very beginning, it was basically exactly what we were doing in the project, just with a Late Bloomer logo. So we were taking pretty much any shirt that I could thrift and printing the Late Bloomer logo over the top. And what I did initially is I just sent out a text to pretty close friends. And because like the idea like from the beginning is that we wanted it to be like as organic as possible. Like I wanted to grow like a following in it like per se, but more of like a community. And that's kind of what we've been based on, is like growing this like community of people. And so like one thing that like I really thought was important at the very beginning was like reaching out to these people that I know and like explaining the initial mission, kind of what was going on. And then after that, we were selling the shirts for $5 at the time. So it was something more not making money, but just really getting out like the idea of Late Bloomer. So we sold to like the initial friend group, and then I kind of started reaching out to more acquaintance people that I didn't know as well. And then eventually just like sent messages to like everyone I knew. And a lot of people didn't reply, but also like a surprising amount of people did reply. Because it ended up being like almost 150 people bought one of those like $5 shirts at the beginning. It's kind of how we got like our first noticeable, you know, landmark. And then from there, we kind of started getting more intricate designs, like with screen printing, as far as that goes. Like our first design that really kind of caught on was one that was done by Malcolm. And it was like our first time kind of realizing that like maybe we weren't just going to be like a screen printing company. And that was something like we all agreed that was like really important, is that we were not going to be like the screen printing company that just screen prints on secondhand clothing. Like we really wanted to be like not only like a conscious clothing initiative, but like also like a very like curated fashion collective as well.
Yeah, we wanted it to be like where the like being conscious in how we produce and recycling was at the very center of it, but that's not like what is screaming at you. That's just like how we do it because it's something that's natural and super important to us. We still wanted to start a clothing brand that like was full of clothes that people would wear and like kind of push ourselves creatively.
And like one thing we like really harped on at the very beginning was like, I didn't want it to be a brand. Like, I don't want it to be a brand. I didn't want it to like have the word brand in it. Cause like brand just has like a very bad connotation with it, where we're like, especially if you're trying to like start a movement, cause then people think of it more in like a, here, you should buy this from me kind of way. Whereas like, that's what it is when it comes down to it. Of course we have to sell the clothes for money, but like the whole idea is that we wanted it to be more of like a conscious clothing initiative rather than a clothing brand. And even though we are still selling clothes, that is the idea, but like that was our main focus at the beginning.
It was kind of like we saw a problem with something that we were super passionate for, which is clothing, and we just wanted to address that problem through making clothes in a way that we like saw would, you know, be a fixture to that problem.
And also like I think what was really nice for us is that a lot of people understand, you know, this isn't something that people aren't aware of. I think it's just something that people have, like it's something that has to be brought up more, maybe in like a different way. So like maybe this more around the curve, like you're not looking straight at a t-shirt that says you shouldn't throw away clothes. You know, you're looking at a t-shirt that's, you know, like we worked really hard on and designed and worked, you know, to get to the point it is now. And then you look at the message and then realize like maybe like you can make a difference as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You talked about how it took a while for the first like to get to where you are now, and like you talked a little bit about it with like creative strat and stuff, but like what does it look like starting essentially from the grassroots, you know? Like how do you approach it, and how do you, because I know now there's like a lot of roadblocks and people are always convincing themselves not to do things, but how do you push the envelope and keep going, you know?
I mean, like what it looked like from the beginning was honestly just like a lot of failure. Like it took probably like a year to figure out how to actually even just screen print. And it was just like messing up stuff like every single time we try to do anything. And it was just like a lot of failure. But eventually like we just kept pushing because we just like really wanted to make this happen. And then after just so much failure and just like trial and error, we were able to get it down. And once we got comfortable with it, like the mediums that we use, then we were able to keep producing.
Yeah, he's not kidding. Like we like fucked up a lot. Like as far as like even like literally like we messed up a lot. Like screen printing. Like I can't tell you how many times we have like messed up a print. But also like even just like trial and error as far as like what kind of designs we want to go for, or like what even decisions like as far as like what we should post on Instagram. You know, for instance, like we've talked about this before in other interviews where like we kind of start to realize like we really get after each other as far as like what should be done and what should, because we all have like the same common goal, and so like we really make sure that like everything's done with a purpose, because the message really does need to be curated very well. So like we really do get after each other and making sure that like every single thing that we do has that message clear.
Yeah, like the five of us are always just kind of going back and forth about what can be done right, and I think that's kind of guided us to do what we have done right. Like through a lot of like the personal failures, I think the five of us have been able to kind of give insight to one another into what might be the best option.
I think that's really important. Anytime you're starting something up from scratch, if you have a strong team on your back, like as we always say, nothing without intention, nothing without intention. Like it's cool. So we all dedicate a lot of our own personal time to it. We have our meetings, and while we all love each other, it's still fun. But like we do put a lot of work into it, and every single piece that we sell like has hours of dedication into it. I think that's like one of the most important parts of starting something and making sure it flies is that you put the work in. You know.
I have a random side question. Okay, you said you had a lot of mistakes. What does your studio space look like? Where do you screen print? And what do you do with the fucked up pieces of clothing that you make?
So like our studio space at the beginning is like my room. So like we would bring like a folding table like back over here. I mean, you guys can't really see it, but we would like place a folding table over there, and then I have a closet, and that's where we would keep all the screens and like put all the emulsion on the screens and like burn the images into the screens, and those can't see any light or it'll be ruined. So that was a whole nother thing that we had to deal with. But yeah, that's kind of where it started. But we've since moved into my garage, so we have like an actual studio space that's kind of nice. And then actually, with all the like fuck ups that we have, we kind of realized, I mean, like it'd be so hypocritical to just like throw away what we mess up and not do anything with it. So one thing that is in the works right now, we have like a ton of our old fabric, a ton of our old t-shirts, just like whatever we've touched in the past. And we're taking all of the old fabric and then compiling it into tote bags. And so it's just kind of like a recycled version of our own mess up. So every tote bag looks kind of different, but it'll have like a lot of our older graphics on it, or just like the older materials that we use and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I love messed up things. I feel like it's just so special. No one else has this.
Yeah, it's got a cool look to it.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, actually. Who do each of you, I guess, like regarding your roles, look to for inspiration? Like, is there kind of like a kind of like figurehead for each of you that you guys are kind of like look at? And you're like, yeah, I kind of want to do what he does or he or she does.
As far as like pertaining to late bloomer, it's nothing's like, I'm not looking at one person and being like, man, we should do that. You know, like with late bloomer, I personally, like I definitely have those people, but like nothing like really shouts out to me like right now that I can think of that's like been like one person that we've like looked up to with like the course of like the growth of late bloomer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think for me though, like at least stylistically, like one person I look up to just is like Pharrell. And I don't know if it's necessarily like reflected in the designs of late bloomer, but just kind of like his mind state and how he's kind of like developed in, you know, culture throughout his career, just like a lot of very like bright colors, but also touching into fashion, touching into music, touching into just anything that's pop culture. I think that's something that's been super important, and just like that mind frame has kind of, you know, subconsciously been a driver for me at least.
And then in terms of, no, go ahead, bud. Go ahead.
Nope, you were gonna say something.
All right, okay. In terms of guys, because I'm relatively unfamiliar with kind of with some of your stuff. If you guys could like create a thesis or like maybe put in like 3 words, like kind of like what late bloomer style is for people like me who are relatively or unfamiliar, what would you like? How would you describe it? Like your aesthetic? Would you say?
Good question.
That is a good question.
I mean, I don't know if I can do it in 3 words, but I will say this is that while like we put a ton of time into like what kind of design we want to alter the clothes to, as far as graphics go, or even Hunter does a ton of cutting so for us, and so does Chloe. She's not on this right now, but as far as like when it comes to picking pieces, like that even like has like a say in like what our pieces are gonna look like. A lot of times, like when we're thrifting or like we'll go to garage sales, like wherever we find our clothes, like can almost, I mean, that can influence like a whole piece that's like in a big collection, you know? So like sometimes the inspiration just comes from the piece itself, while a lot of it comes from like our design in our mind.
Okay, interesting.
And I'd say like aesthetically, just like how the designs rotate, I'd say it's very like typographic heavy. Like we do a lot of focus on type, but then when the imagery comes in to pair with the type, it's a lot of like sampling of pictures that we find, like very sample driven, if that makes sense. So like we'll find like stuff in magazines and like kind of scan it and like collage, like almost in a sense.
Yeah, I remember seeing.
I feel like our
Sorry.
mix. I feel like our mix.
I remember seeing. Oh,
No, you go ahead.
Zoom. Love Zoom. This is just a comment. I remember seeing Grace draw this beautiful piece of the watering can. And I was just going to ask if everything's hand drawn, but Alex, I saw you.
I do not think everything's always hand drawn. I think we do a lot of like, I mean, it is like to a certain extent, it's handmade. Like we make things, everyone makes things in Illustrator, it seems like, and they either re-vector or like, you know, redraw what they need to draw. I don't do much design, so that's mostly on them. So that's not about that. But I guess aesthetically, if I was to answer a question from maybe like a non-designer standpoint, it seems like the materials that we use plus like our use of like our brand name really goes like for like what we want. Like it's like a very low key way for us to put our message. Like late bloomer as like a word in the title has so much behind it to anybody. Like those are very simple words you can understand. And like to us, like each of us have our own different meaning of what it means, just like personally and how we like understand the brand. But like, you know, the type we use is very, you know, thought through. And I think the type plus the clothes and like how the clothes look and like what the clothes are actually from make our aesthetic like what it is. Ooh, Thompson has a nice question for us. So it's like, Josh, do you want to take the lead on this, or maybe Hunter, since maybe Josh always answers first?
No, you got it, Josh.
It makes sense. Yeah. So the name, like when we came up, well, like I initially came up with the name at first, like just I thought it sounded cool, to be honest. Like I was like, man, that's like a really sick name. But then the more I thought about it, the more I was like, why did I like kind of, it was really random, you know, like late bloomer, like it just kind of popped in my head, like what could I use this for? And then like the more I thought about it, the more it kind of like really just kind of coincided with that like time in my life. Like I felt like I was like a late bloomer. Like I like transferred into the school. I was late, like getting to all the journalism things. I was like figuring all these things out. It just seemed like all these things like kind of like really reflected on who I was at the time. And then like the more I thought about it, the more like it makes so much sense that like when you look at like consumerism as a whole right now and like the over like everyone's like very wasteful, like whether you like it or not. But like this idea of being a late bloomer is that you can take these habits and bloom into something, you know, much more conscious of like your consumer habits and just kind of how you can be a better person as a whole. And then like from that, like that was like the initial idea. And then like Hunter has like maybe even a better take on it, in my opinion.
Yeah, so like my kind of understanding of what the name means for the brand as a whole is just like what we're literally making, and the pieces that we're remaking and stuff are late bloomers themselves. So we're taking something that someone once thought was waste, or something that someone once thought was ugly and like, or like just didn't fit them, or they didn't want it anymore, something that, you know, they disregarded, and then we're kind of taking that and making it into something that people do want, something that's like beautiful or, you know, aesthetically pleasing. And so in that, like the things that we make are literally late bloomers in and of themselves.
No, the reason why I was first drawn to the name is I think that being a late bloomer is something that almost anyone can resonate with at one point or another. At some point in your life, you felt like a late bloomer yourself. So it kind of has that emotional impact on you. And then when you find out more about what the mission is all about, you know, why we do what we do, it kind of resonates even deeper with that emotional impact, because it's not just, you know, it would be one thing if it was just clothing, that would be awesome. But we also do shows, we have all these community gatherings to kind of spread the message and like, you know, incite that kind of feeling. And so I think that that's why it also resonates. You know?
And like another thing with the name too is that like late bloomer is like, I guess like the nickname of the brand, like that's what like the easy way to refer to it. Late bloomer project was the idea behind the project is that it's like an ever evolving thing. And eventually like, you know, it could evolve into something that's just more than clothes. Like for instance, like right now we're working with bikes as well. So I mean, if we were to call it late bloomer clothing company, that just like wouldn't be true to what we're doing, and also limiting in a way. So the late bloomer project just being like this ever evolving, you know, entity. So, yeah.
Right. Because we've had our blooming sessions with bands, we do things with local bands, we've had our gallery opening, stuff like that.
Mhm. Yeah.
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 Oh, go ahead.
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Well, when I first really started catching on to what you guys were doing, it was around when you guys did the Lawrence like pop-up exhibit thing. And so then like seeing you guys grow to now to opening a shop, like what were the different process or like goals you guys had for those two completely different events and two different purposes, but what were you guys thinking going into those?
It's a good question.
Yeah. I think like right off the bat, like we wanted to make sure that like, well, we obviously like we took it very seriously, but we wanted it to be like something very different from like what we've done before, and then different from clothes. I mean, Hunter, I don't know if you have something you're about to say.
For the gallery, I can take it if you want, or
You were trying to say something.
oh no.
No, I mean it was just like I guess like the whole idea behind it was like how can we visually express our mission statement and like what we're about in like an art gallery. And I think we did that to the best we could. And then as far as like preparing, for the clothing collection, I mean, it's just like, it's a different mindset, I guess. Yeah.
Release stuff intermittently throughout the year. And then with this collection that we just dropped, we've been working on for at least 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, I mean, with like, I feel like with our mind frame of how we're making stuff is like, there's always kind of a collection in the back of our mind that we're going to like release eventually. Like Grace said, we've been working on the collection that just released on Monday for about 6 months now. But in the midst of that, we found out because Alex got us the spot in the art gallery. So momentarily, like we shifted our mind state to, okay, how can, like Josh also said, like how can Late Bloomer live in the space of an art gallery? We're not producing clothes necessarily, although the art gallery did involve clothes. It wasn't like we were selling clothes, and I think that kind of applies too with like the concerts that we do. Like we've done, I think like 2 or 3 concerts during the time of working on this collection. So it's just those moments where we're kind of, shifting our mind state to whatever we're trying to do, I guess.
I think that's super cool because I feel like it's like you guys, like you said, you wanted to make it more than just this one goal. You had this goal to make a whole community, like this whole initiative. And so like I think that's really cool that even though when you first started, like you didn't intend to do these concerts or this pop-up shop or start a clothing line, like they just kind of are pieces that make up your overall goal to build this community sustainability initiative.
Yeah.
Like that's a great way to like kind of, I know you don't like the word brand, but like this is a good way to set like a foundation for like if you want to take it further. It's like, and we didn't just start from this, like it's a whole like spectrum of what we're trying to paint.
Yeah, and I think like what's super important to us too is just because sustainability and being able to like let me start over, but I was just going to say like sustainability is just, very centric to everything that we do. And I think in doing these multiple different things, we're kind of hoping to show how sustainability can live. Like, I mean, it started with showing how sustainability can be involved in the fashion industry, but just kind of, trying to take that mindset and the rules of like sustainability and bringing it to like the art world or like, music even.
Yeah, I think that's kind of my favorite part about what we do is we have these gatherings within the community and everyone's having a really good time and enjoying themselves and listening to music and looking at art, but then there's also that deeper meaning and that message behind it, which I think that oftentimes people are looking for because anyone, if given the option, would choose to make an impact, so I think that's why it's important that we have this community aspect of everything we do.
Yeah, I liked what you guys said about like having a widespread variety of like different mediums. And what do you think that looks like going forward? Like where are you guys looking to expand to?
Mm-hmm.
You got it.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, I think I don't know if you guys saw, but we just did the online blooming sessions, which are the blooming sessions are concerts. We can talk about that at some point throughout this, but we just did the online blooming sessions, which was like a full-on production of 3 different videos from from 2 bands and then a DJ set, which was like really fun. And it's just like a really good example of like how we can see ourselves kind of venturing out into like doing different things. Cause like while we do the concerts, like we can also show that we do like full on like video production, as well as like we do all these like different photo shoots right now. I mean, we're working, it was supposed to happen this spring. We were going to get in touch with the local Bikes for Kids, which is just a local charity that, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It gets bikes for kids, but like we were involved with that, as well as like repurposing our own bikes. We want to continue to keep throwing concerts. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, there's like a ton of things we can still keep doing.
And then, yeah, and then like when talking like really big picture, like for the future, hopefully 5 years down the road, we've talked about how the whole concept of it is very adaptable to other places. So in a sense, having flagship stores of late bloomers. So you have like Late Bloomer Eugene, where it started, and we're sourcing everything from, you know, locally from Eugene, but you can take it to Chicago and do Late Bloomer Chicago, where you're sourcing all the materials from Chicago, or you do Late Bloomer LA and so on. Because this is a problem that exists everywhere, and there's always going to be clothing waste everywhere. And so, you know, taking the like taking the concept behind it and expanding it to a different place, I think would work just as well as it does here. It's just, Eugene's been a great place to start, but I see, and hopefully we'll grow to other places, you know, because it is such an adaptable concept.
I feel like as we grow as like a brand, sorry, Josh, like, you know, like I'm going to be going back to Chicago with Malcolm, and we're going to be there for like the next 3 years of our life. That's a good chance for us to like, you know, start something there, but it's going to be a totally different, like not totally different, but it's going to be different than what Josh and Hunter are going to be doing here. And, you know, we're going to have maybe more of an art focus than it is like a fashion focus, but we are going to have like the fashion there as well. So I think, you know, as we continue to like dish out our trust into like how the brand's going to grow and have like-minded people behind what we're doing, we just like get to keep pushing sustainability, but in our own ways in different places, given what those places need. Like, I feel like Eugene is a great place for like what we're doing here, and Chicago's going to need something different. And that's kind of like going to be decided when we get there and understand like what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, want to go, Miles, or no?
I was just saying, yeah.
Okay, cool. What was I good at? Oh yeah. In terms of like some things that you've learned starting out, because honestly, like just kind of starting from the like not the bottom, but like just kind of like creating this all your own. Like I'm sure you guys had kind of some sort of expectation starting out what kind of this could be. What have you learned, whether it be through like on the collaboration front, or just making people aware of your products, or even just down to like the creativity?
Uh-oh, he paused.
All right, you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you guys hear anything I said, or no?
It's like when it comes
Yeah,
down
for the
to
most part.
All right, I guess like what have you guys learned, whether it be collaboration, creativity, or just kind of getting your products heard, any of those, what have you guys learned the most since you guys have started?
I think one thing that this has taught me, and that I've tried to like just like always implement, is just kind of do as much as you can when you have something to do, like, and just go all the way with your idea for it. You know, like a lot of times, like when we're like for example, with this website that we just released on Monday, like there were talks of it just being like something super simple, just like literally having our clothes on it and just being a direct marketplace. But as we were working on it, we just kind of developed it into something like a little bit bigger than that. At the basis, it is a marketplace, but when you go on it, it's like a little bit more exciting than just seeing a bunch of clothes on it. Like we have a lot of 3D stuff going on. A lot of the photography is on there and stuff like that. So I think just trying to sum all that up, it's just like being open with the possibilities of when you're working on a project, whatever that project is. And then when you do think of something that you like truly feel like is a good idea, just going all the way with it, you know?
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point with everything that we do, because it could just be clothing. It could just be blooming sessions with bands, but instead, like any opportunity we get, we try to further the movement, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, like I think what I've learned the most is like not like why like don't question yourself. I think a lot of the ideas we've had, like we easily could have been like, well, I mean, like I mean that's a lot of work, or we couldn't do that. You know, like something like as easy as just like questioning yourself, and then there it goes. I honestly like can't think of many things that we've thought of that we haven't done, unless it involves like trying to get a hold of someone that's just hard to get a hold of. I mean, it's pretty much all been done. So like, I guess just like if you have an idea, don't be afraid to pursue it. I mean, like and that's another thing is it's going to take a lot of time, but like time management has been a huge thing throughout this project, and it's beneficial to like everything outside of late bloomer too. I mean, like I've learned now I'm applying it to different things, but
yeah, like exactly what Josh just said. I mean, like no matter what it is, I think just believing in yourself and what you can do, and like I think it's really hard at the beginning of what you can do. Like for me personally, just like kind of being introverted and quiet and stuff like that, like posting about late bloomer was kind of a big deal for me initially, and just like, you know, being open about it, not because I didn't believe in it, but just because I hadn't done something like that and like hadn't reached a step where I could like fully believe in myself. And I think just like the biggest thing that I've learned from this is exactly what Josh is saying, just like being able to believe in yourself when you have something that you truly like feel like is a good idea and something that you're passionate about.
That's super, like, that's awesome. I don't want to neglect our live streamers, but we've got some questions popping up. We have Tran with the brand in mind, would you guys ever want to be as big as Supreme?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
would you guys ever do like a limited drops?
That's what we do everything.
Yeah, we do limited drops. That's kind of what we have.
And I mean that like everything that we do drop is very limited. And partially that's because of the nature of how we like source our materials. It's not like we can just go to a wholesaler and buy like 50 t-shirts. We're going out and like finding each and every single individual piece. So
What goes into the process of deciding like we're going to take this one piece from so and so's garage sale or whatever instead of this other piece? Like how do you guys decide like which like actual pieces of clothing are going to make it?
I was just gonna tell the story about the jeans.
Sure, yeah.
So like just this one story for one thing that we did is I was at this garage sale over the summer, or it was like an estate sale. This lady was selling like a bunch of her stuff, and she had like 20 pairs of like these jeans with an elastic waist on them. And I was like, holy shit, okay, like I don't know what we could do with these, but I think I'll just get them. And so like I asked her how much she wanted for them, and it was like $5. And so she gave me these like 20 jeans with for $5. And so then I brought them back and was like, all right, like I got all of this stuff from this garage sale. Like, what do we do with it now? And Josh had already had this idea for, he made this, technically it was this graphic, but it was more of a pattern where it was like pinstripes, that said like late bloomer, but like from a distance, it looked like pinstripes, but up close, like you could see that said late bloomer, if that makes any sense. But I came back with the jeans, and then it was like, oh, let's make some like denim shorts out of these. So we were able to make like 20 pairs of denim shorts, just like from stumbling upon that. So that's kind of how not always, but definitely a lot of the more intricate pieces, I think, come from stumbling upon something like that.
That's cool. Brittany asks, do you think you will ever expand besides thrifted clothing? I don't know if Brittany wants to come on with a follow-up of that, but yeah.
we kind of already have, just because like certain pieces that we have in mind are hard to thrift. Like, so we just released a bunch of like workwear with embroidery on it, and those pieces were just bought on eBay, just because we had a pretty specific image in mind for what those needed to look like. it's just like that's just stuff you can't really find at a normal thrift store. So, but that's like really the only time we've had like few times where we can't really find what we're looking for.
Yeah, we're also not like crazy picky, I don't think.
No, yeah, and yeah. I'm trying to think. Like, I can't really think of any times where, I mean, unless like the shirt's like really awful, and just like a terrible color.
But like with that being said, I really hope as we grow forward that we can kind of ignore like the ugliness of some stuff, you know, and like get to the. I know, like for example, Patagonia does a lot of recycled stuff, and they have a warehouse that's just like a bunch of just like shit people have donated it, and so they just like take it apart and then they can use it as material. So I hope we get to that point, you know, eventually.
Would you ever like weave or loom your own fabric?
No, that would be very cool though. We've actually like briefly talked about figuring out a way to do that because we want to do like sweaters and stuff.
Yeah.
We're not like exactly sure how to do that quite yet.
Right.
Yeah.
I can loom, in case you guys didn't know that.
Oh.
Dang.
Alex Vode, the photographer and loomer.
Loom.
Hey.
God.
We have another question from the live stream.
From the chat. What about other items or non-clothing related things that you guys are looking into?
Bikes.
Yeah,
we've done one bike already that was in our fashion show back in October.
Wait, did you post about that?
There's not like pictures from the fashion show, but like the clothing from the fashion show is like some of our first posts on Instagram.
Okay, gotcha.
That's
so cool.
The bike's in there somewhere.
Yeah, the bike should be in there, I think.
That's so cool.
And there's going to be a couple more coming out later this spring that'll be available for sale. I'm not sure how we're going to do the sale yet and whether some of the bikes for kids or not. But yeah, bikes right now.
And like we're low key on a production streak, just like producing our own stuff. And like before this was all going to happen, we had a lot of other production stuff in line, coming ahead. So kind of
obviously it's like shit.
No, you're good. Go for it, Miles.
Well, I was just gonna say like it is a crazy time and like it is like a major curveball. So like, how do you think that's going to affect, if it is even affecting where you guys are going, or how you guys are going to think this process through?
Yes, we were lucky enough to have like a pretty good stock of clothes coming up to the drop that we just did. But as far as like the future goes, like you guys know as much as we do. I mean, we can't get into a thrift store and like we can't order everything on eBay. So like obviously it's not ideal, but like there's still ways to work around it. And luckily we've built a platform for ourselves to be able to still do, the blooming sessions. We can still do bikes. We can still do other things that aren't, we can do art. I mean, doesn't always have to be clothing. And we do like to space out our drops now. I mean, as far as like collections go, like we'll still release things here and there. But as far as like big collections go, like those are going to be fairly spread out, with the seasons. So hopefully this will all pass over sooner than later, and this won't be an issue coming up.
Yeah, I mean, like we're not really sure right now what we're going to do about with the clothes. Like we're still kind of trying to work out the kinks with that because, like all thrift stores are closed right now. And that's like not the only place that we get stuff from, but it's definitely the like main place that we get stuff from. So we're just trying to navigate that right now. But as Josh said, we have other things that we're going to try to do, just adapt.
Yeah. I mean, like more just on a personal level, like what are you guys doing to stay sane? I mean, it doesn't have to be that personal. I was just like, just checking up on like,
Yeah.
We've been like so busy coming up to the collection release that like, if anything, that's been keeping us pretty sane. And luckily, like we have that. And then also I enjoy taking photos. I do that a lot. And I also started working in Premiere a lot more. So I've been working on that. So like And like that kind of goes back to like what Hunter was saying, is like when you have time, like utilizing that to be like, you don't always have to be productive. I know, it's like take your time and be mentally healthy. I think that's just as important as just relax, which we're all kind of enjoying right now after, because like it was really working up to the deadline like we do every time, unfortunately. But like just kind of taking some time to relax, but also still be creative.
Yeah, I mean, we're like just super blessed to be able to take this time to relax and kind of, you know, reflect on stuff for ourselves or build new skills. So just like being thankful for that and taking advantage of that.
I think too, like outside of late bloomer with all this going on, you know, when you're creative and if you're creative for the field you're going into, like advertising, constantly have to be creative all the time and pushing that. You know, everyone's saying right now, be creative, find your creative outlets, but maybe if you're always doing that, like don't push it. Maybe take a break from being creative. Other than this, I've been reading for pleasure, you know, I've just been kind of stepping away. Yeah. I think that helps too. As much as you can not put pressure on yourself right now with everything that's going on, I think is a good way to start.
Yeah.
I think it's like important to do something you love as it is to like just do something different every once in a while. Just spend some time with people and just talk. I mean, like and then like eventually that leads back to the creativity. Like some of our best ideas have been like me and Hunter just like chilling, and then all of a sudden it just kind of like chopping it up, and the next thing you know, like blooming sessions is a thing, which is like really what happened. So.
Oh yeah, tell us more about the blooming sessions. Who are the artists you've had on? Like, what's the platform you use?
Yeah. Blooming sessions was an idea we had back at the end of the summer. And it was just kind of like, well, like what if we kind of threw a concert put on by Late Bloomer and then had artists there and we sold t-shirts. I mean, it was like really that simple.
Yeah.
And then the first one, and then also like who kind of had a lot to do with the first one was Sam Weber, which is Hunter's roommate. He's an artist, musician that played at the first one as well, but like helping us kind of coordinate with artists and get in touch with artists was really helpful. But like the first one was thrown actually in the garage, the workshop that we work in. So we cleaned it out and then shoved way too many people in there and had a great time. Back when
Love it.
Yeah.
And then it's awesome. But like you hit on it really well, but it's just like this community aspect, and it's like once again just like a visual. Like you get to see what the actual Late Bloomer community is in person.
Who's gonna do any live streams?
We posted 2 on our YouTube page.
Okay.
So you can go look at those on our YouTube page.
Cool.
Great.
Well, 2 on YouTube.
2 on YouTube. You're right.
We'll put those in our newsletter for the fans to go check out.
Sweet. And then like we also did one at the SMJ house, which is over in, I don't know if you guys know what that is. It's the big green man up on a hill. But we did like an acoustic blooming sessions, which was really fun with laundry and chip nail polish. And then we had, who else? Honey
and Spiller.
Spiller, yeah. Like another thing is like we're so lucky to have like the music scene that we do in Eugene. Local bands, like they are really phenomenal, and I think they're gonna make a big name for themselves. So like to be a part of that, like we all like love music, and that was another thing that like me and Hunter were hitting on, like at the very beginning of this process, of, like starting the blooming sessions, is like we love music, but like how could we be a part of it if we don't make it? And so like that's kind of our way to like still be involved, because like we love it so much. So like it's a really good platform for us to do that.
And while creating those environments for those shows, we also create a shirt for each one of those shows with like the image of the house that the show is at, the date, the number of which session it's been, which I think is really cool. Because if you have that shirt and you keep it forever, and then you're old, you look back on it and here's that date, here's the image of it's just that, it's again the emotional feeling that I think is really special.
And those are cool because we've all like taken a turn designing those ones. So like each of us kind of have one that we've made. It's kind of fun.
Even the one I'm wearing right now, this is from the gallery opening we had. And it has, I like this one the most because it has our mission statement on the back of it. But you can,
That's so cool. And then the artists themselves have a piece that you guys designed for them. It's like win all over the place. Are you guys gonna make music? When's the mixtape coming out?
Whoa.
Well, so this can answer in a couple ways. So we did the blooming sessions, the DJ set, and then we also have talked about like doing a playlist that will be like updated throughout, like on our website. So,
Ooh, I like that.
or like as far as like making music, got something on the way. Just keep your eyes.
Let's go.
We have a theme song. We have a theme song.
Yeah, theme song.
Oh, I'm excited.
That's smart.
Cannot wait.
We have a question just for Grace from the Rome. What have you been reading?
What have I been reading? Right now I'm reading Angela's Ashes. It's about this little boy and he's in Ireland and they're very poor and it's really good. Basically, my dad gave me the book. He keeps quoting it. He gave it to me a year ago and I keep pretending that I've read it. So now I'm reading it so I can, have better conversation about it.
Nice. Good work.
All right.
Like a super famous award-winning novel. So yeah. Thank you, Rome.
That's awesome.
All right. I mean,
Miles, no, take it away.
Pretty much. I guess. Well, you guys kind of touched about it earlier. How do you guys like? I guess suppress self-doubt. I mean, I feel like everybody kind of has that voice in the head that's like, "Can't do it. You can't do it." Like, and you kind of said just kind of every idea that you've done, every idea that you've had, you've done. But how do you kind of keep yourself in that mindset of just like no matter what, you kind of just keep going forward?
Yeah, like I think this is something that like I didn't know I really had in me until like bloomer was a thing. But just like I think like the best advice, because it's just really like taking one thing at a time. So if you set like, I know that's like very cliche to set like one goal and then work towards that goal, but like really if you find something that you're very passionate about and you find like a step to get there, just hit that first step and then just kind of keep making, like if you think like you should do the next thing, then just do the next thing. Just do it. I mean, there's like no point in like really waiting, right? I mean, like if you can make something happen, just go for it. Like what's holding you back? Really nothing, unless it involves. I mean, so like.
How do you deal with the haters, Josh? How do you deal with the haters?
Yeah, luckily, that's nice.
Might be a cliche too, but you're only as good as your team is. And so while we're able to bring things forward and we're able to critique each other and do all that's we get the best work. But also we live together, we're all best friends in my opinion. And so I think that also derives a lot of forward and you're able to make the best work you can when you're around creatives that would rather see you grow,
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been in Alan. We know that Alan is really great, and that's how I met all of these people. But it also has, oftentimes there's that weird competitive feeling. And I think as long as you're at the group where you can be competitive with yourself and inspired by your friends, and it doesn't block anything, I think that's important.
That's really good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Poetic.
That's beautiful. We like to call it the J school hierarchy, right, Miles?
What's Alan?
It's a hierarchy.
Exposed. That was a great way, I think, to end it.
Totally.
Yeah, if anyone else has any last comments, but if not, I think that was a solid wrap up. Great interview. Oh wait, say it.
Yeah. Well, I just want to for anyone that, I guess, but also you, just like having us on, when we started this, like I was pretty fresh into the J school and then Hunter wasn't even in, he transferred into the J school a year after me. So I like never thought that I would be in this position now. Like, I don't think any of us thought that. So like for people to really, and it's not like a power thing. Like, I just think for people to be like so on the same level with like the message we're pushing is so cool to see. And like, we really do appreciate that. So like for anyone that's watching this, like we appreciate you like watching this. So I mean, like it's cool that like everyone's getting the message and kind of can relay it in the same way that we hoped it would.
Yeah. And like, just to be like on something like this, like we really respect what you guys do too and think it's like super sick. So it's just like, it's really cool for you guys to, kind of like for us to build that relationship,
Yeah, 100%. We appreciate you guys so much. thank you all from the bottoms of our hearts. You guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Everyone throw up a heart. Throw the love. Oh my gosh, so cute. All right, you guys are awesome.
All right.
Thank you guys.
We'll
Thanks,
toss
guys.
a bunch of their links into the newsletter so people can keep up to date. But
Oh yeah, and then
yeah.
the website's latebloomerproject.com. Check it out. All new stuff, all our photography, good amount of the photography. Yeah.
And the Instagram?
Also, Instagram is latebloomer.project.
Amazing. Okay. And yeah, you'll see all their names in the newsletter as well to go check out their portfolios. Thank you all for listening to our very first live stream. This has been wonderful. I'm going to go ahead and end the live stream, but thank you all.